So, Dream Scenario is a new film from A24 starring Nicolas Cage, who plays a college professor in which everybody around him and people he doesn't even know just start having dreams about him. Very odd dreams where, Nicolas Cage playing, this Professor Paul Matthews, who it's not that remarkable of a guy. It feels like, he was trying to, he's trying to like push a book on ants, and wants to kind of like, and wants to, become a bigger success, but it's not happening for him. And he's just like, it feels like, he's kind of washed up and like, he's just going to be teaching for the rest of his life. He just starts appearing in other people's dreams, not really doing anything. Just kind of just passing through and just saying like, hey, what's up? And it's usually like people having like nightmares, like something horrible happening to them. And then there's Paul, just walking in with his glasses and, his bald head and just kind of just strolling on by, maybe, commenting here and there and not really doing anything else. So at first, Paul is intrigued by this. He's kind of like, oh, that's actually kind of neat. I'm appearing in a lot of people's dreams now. And because like he appears more frequently in other people's dreams, he starts becoming a little bit famous. And so, a lot of people, they want to get photos with him. They want to chat with him. They want to talk about his dreams. And he's just loving, having not been that famous his entire life. He's just enjoying, becoming like such a sensation. Now, the way that the film tries to proceed with this is it tries to use this appearance in dreams as an allegory for going viral, which, fairly obvious, allegory here. The problem I have with this is that it's, this is something like, it's a little bit debatable how this type of film proceeds because Paul really doesn't have much control over how this affects him. So, like, when he appears in other people's dreams, he can't really change the outcome. Like, and I love the fact how, I will say this, I love that they never give a firm explanation for why Paul keeps appearing in people's dreams. It's just something that happens. He doesn't really understand it. Nobody else understands it. It's just there, and it's just a part of people's lives now. A part that, everyone experiences. And because of that, I think it's an interesting angle to see how this is like a level of fame that Paul can't control. Because without giving like too much away, like the dreams don't go as well as Paul would hope. Like there's mild variations that he experiences with other people, but when as the dreams progress, like they start getting to a level where people start to despise Paul for something that is out of his control. Now, the way that the film proceeds with this, like it's trying to be a commentary on cancel culture, but like I go back and forth on this because like on one level, this is something that Paul can't control at this, because like you feel like, like if you become that level of viral sensation, you feel like you have to have a little bit of control over it. But at the same time, it's also, trying to recognize that if you do have that level of viral fame and people start, pushing you into like social media and, other people start adopting you as a meme, you lose more control of it, which is, an essential part of like, Nicolas Cage at this point too. Like, I mean, with stuff like, Nicolas Cage appearing, in stuff here and there. And it's an interesting, allegory, I think, to explore. The problem is, I think the film kind of like settles a little bit too much on the simplistic aspects of watching, Paul go from like being a viral sensation that everybody loves to, a lesser person who everyone despises to the point where he's so low that he can only, appeal to like people on like the fringe of online culture. Which especially by the third act, it really settles into, both the commodification of this idea of like appearing in dreams and also, the level of, how far you can fall from this. That being said, I have to admit, there are a plenty of scenes in this film that did make me just laugh out loud. And I think that's because of just Nicolas Cage's performance here. That there are so many scenes that are meant to be absurd and ridiculous, and Cage just throws himself into it. In particular, there's one scene, I don't want to reveal too much, where he confronts somebody about, somebody who wants to like relive their dream with Paul, and the way that he proceeds through it just has like the perfect climax to it. Just from his reaction and how he, feels uncomfortable with it, and just the way that he makes his exit is just all beautifully absurd. I love the way that it plays out. I also really dug kind of like the relationship that he has with his wife Janet, played by Julianne Nicholson, and how she is a little bit jealous that everyone else is kind of experiencing these dreams with him, and she doesn't have that same luxury, where it feels like even though she's living with this guy, she doesn't have that level of access to him as a person. Which is an interesting angle to explore, and I'm very glad that the film kind of settles on that level of heart for where it wants to go with the finale, which leads to a pretty a weird and sweet moment towards the end, which I think, like, for as much as, I was starting to almost kind of like tune out with the third act, where it's just kind of like just showing Paul descend further and further into the muck of like kind of like the fringes of online culture, it was nice to see it kind of, go back to where it was, where Paul feels like he does have control of his dreams again. There are some questionable aspects of it that I do have with how it tries to parallel with cancel culture that I don't think hold, that I think kind of like make the allegory crack a little here and there, where it doesn't line up as well as it should for this. But for that staging, for having this idea of just, Nicolas Cage appearing in everyone's dreams, I think for at least like the first two acts, it does explore some funny and bizarre territory here that it's just weird enough that I think it works. I think it also helps that you have a great comedic backup cast here. Like, you have Michael Cera playing this kind of this viral marketing head guy who's just kind of like, who really wants to sell Paul into like this idea that, he gets associated with other people's dreams, and fairly simple, like, like the commodification of people, like the whole late stage capitalism commentary. It mostly works. It's kind of, very on the nose, but I feel like it worked for this film. You have like Tim Meadows playing the dean at the college, who has like some very, very nice dry moments of comedy between him and Nicolas Cage, which play out fairly well. And yeah, just the way that like the dreams become more commodified as the film goes along, I thought was like an interesting touch. I don't feel like there's as much explored with that idea as there could be, but I feel like they found just enough of the funny moments within that material to make it work here. So I was honestly kind of hoping for something, I think it might be a little bit unfair to like compare it to like something like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, where, it's about, getting into someone's head and try to like, even like, relating this to something like, like Being John Malkovich, about, having that loss of identity and becoming like a sensation and feel like you lose yourself to fame. I feel like it doesn't explore as much as it could, but at the same time, like the scenes that they do stage here, they do work. And let's face it, the number one reason you're going to this film is to see Nicolas Cage be weird in other people's dreams and react like a weirdo around other people when he becomes a viral hit. And he does that. And it's wickedly absurd and hilarious in a lot of scenes that just for like the first two acts are just beautifully hilarious and absurd and surreal. And like even in the third act, when it kind of like tones it down and tries to, get to like, like the fall of Paul, it mostly holds consistent with, Paul just wanting, to be accepted. And I think at its core, that's what kind of makes the film work, even when it gets a little bit messy here and there. So yeah, if you're just going to it to see Nicolas Cage do some weird stuff, you're gonna get that, and you're actually gonna get a little bit of heart to it as well. So yeah, I actually really appreciated that.